All right, hey everybody. I am just on my way. I just finished a workout. It was really awesome. Just deadlifted 200 for 5. Boop, boop. Actually, that's a little bit behind where I was. Anyway, so I was just having this awesome conversation with this guy about some of the lessons that I've been learning over the season. Put up a post the other day that was about wisdom is earned and it is not learned. Knowledge you can learn, but knowledge, unless it's applied, is not wisdom. It's just intellectual assent, and that's not the game that I want to be playing. And so I go through these seasons of like micro suffering, like it's not life or death or anything like that, but it's very real, especially emotionally, spiritually, financially. They're very real. The things that the things that we're going through. But then I'm having this conversation, and I'm just walking out of the gym, and I remember a story. Like it's kind of like the narrative. If you know me, you know that I lose a lot of things. Like I remember my wife bought me these real nice Nikes. And I was like, yeah, awesome, I really want to wear them, and as you do with cool shoes, right? And I went and picked up my kids from her mum's house. I put the Nikes on the roof and put the kids in the car. I didn't collect the Nikes, I left them on the roof, and I drove off, and they fell onto the motorway. It's kind of like the time where I also put my new iPad. This is just this year, by the way. I put my new iPad on the roof of her car, and I put the kids into our car. She didn't know that my iPad was on her car, and she drives out of the church building and the car park that we're at, and it gets run over. And I nearly just, on the way to the car, I nearly just lost my phone down a drain because I have butterfingers. And then I realized something. If I had lost that phone, I would have lost everything that I've documented. And I've kept a living journal on my phone for the whole year, and just kind of like moments between me and God. And I realized I would have lost all of that because just before I left the gym, I had a little thing saying that the cloud can't back up a lot of my phone. So I nearly lost it, right? And then I started thinking, like, if I lost it, what would I be able to take away from it that I have kind of got? And then I realized that every time I lose something, I learn something, right? Every time I lose something, I learn something. And that is the narrative of my life. Every time I lose something, I learn something. But guess what? It wasn't just the narrative for my life. It was actually the narrative for Paul's life too. He says in Philippians chapter 3, all of those things that I counted as gain, or all of those things that I counted as gain, I now count as loss for the cause of Christ. And he carries on to talk about in chapter 4 how he had abundance and he had nothing, but Christ gives him strength, and then my God will supply all my needs in Christ Jesus. And I realize he lived that same narrative. Every time he loses something, he learns something. And I've lost friendships, and I've learned about friendships. I've lost, I've learned about love and unconditional love and loving people that hurt you. I've also learned about forgiveness. So every time you lose something, you learn something. And I just wanted to encourage you with that every time you lose something, you learn something. And so if you're going through a season where you are experiencing loss, I want you to understand that you're actually going through a season of learning. And what came out of that conversation, what's coming out of my time with God is this: wisdom is not learned, wisdom is earned. And it's earned through the hardship of suffering. And when you lose a little bit of what you had prior to that suffering, that's when you learn something. So when you lose something, you learn something. I wanted to encourage you with that today. I also wanted to encourage you to be a better steward than I am, and don't lose your stuff, especially if your wife buys it for you. Okay, everybody, that's me. Have a good weekend. We will catch you on Saturday night. Remember, 6:45 at the KOG building, 4 Butler Ave. Super excited for it. Really, really looking forward to it. And gosh, we've got some really good stuff coming up, man. I'm so excited for what God is doing. It's really cool, man. Okay, bye.